Alright, guys, welcome. This is the second episode of my series Free Weights versus Cables versus Machines. Now, if you haven't already, please go back and watch my last video in which I have listed all the inherent advantages and disadvantages of each particular category with the best explanations on the whole internet. In episode 2, we're going to look at the comparison from a different angle. How can you strategically choose each category depending on your training goals, and if you are a beginner hypertrophy trainee? Okay, let us start from the first variable, your training goals. Firstly, this is a natural physique focused channel, so apparently hypertrophy or muscle growth is the forte of my channel. However, before we specifically address hypertrophy, it is just as important to recognize that not everyone is training for hypertrophy. Some people may be professional athletes that only use weight training to enhance their sports performance. And some people may be strength athletes that only use weight training to increase their strength. Okay, we talk about professional athletes first. As all sports are purely gravity-based, and maintaining the balance, stability, and agility plays such an important role in all sports applications. It is absolutely necessary for professional athletes to plan their weight training almost exclusively around free weight exercises as long as it is safe to do so. Because the resistance from cables and machines are just too artificial for them compared to gravity. And the strength they have gained from doing cables and machines exercises are just very difficult to transfer directly to real sports applications. That is why, for their training, it has to be almost exclusively free weight based. For strength athletes, the situation is a little bit different. Although strength exercises are also purely gravity based, as muscle size is a big contributor to strength, very often strength athletes will have dedicated hypertrophy training phase apart from their strength training phase. During their strength training phase, they definitely stick predominantly to free weight exercises as the only real measurement of pure strength. But during hypertrophy training phase, they will resort more, at least a little bit more, to cables and machine exercises to increase their training volume in order to increase their muscle size. So, on balance, although strength athletes' weight training program is still predominantly free weight based, there are definitely some elements of cables and machines in their program. There's one particular area that proves to be the exception to this free weight based rule in both cases. This area is called rehab exercises or restorative exercises, and it is almost exclusively occupied by machines. Very ironic. Whether it is a glute ham raise, or a reverse hyper, or hyperextension, or a CC squat, all these rehab or restorative exercises are based on certain machines, and for a good reason. For an exercise to be rehabilitative or restorative, it has to come up with a certain degree of stability, or otherwise you will get yourself injured easily again. And machines are much better at providing stability than free weights, which we already discussed in my last video. Okay, now we have cleared out other different training goals. Let us focus on what my channel is best at, growing bigger muscles, which is also the most common goal for the general public. Now, depending on whether you're a beginner, an intermediate, or an advanced trainee, if you want to keep the maximum efficiency of your training program at different phases, You will have to gear your program towards one category or another. As a beginner who just ventures into weight training, the most important task for you, besides establishing the habit of training, is to establish a real foundation. And please note, the key word here is real in threefold. Number one, get the feeling of what real weight feels like. Number two, practice all real basic movement patterns like squat, hinge, push, pull. Number three, build a real solid strength base for your hypertrophy training program, like close to 2 times your body weight back squat or deadlift. And only free weights can build up this real foundation for you. Nothing feels more real than gravity. Whether it is your body weight, dumbbells, or barbells, they are the most realistic representation of what real weight is. And you cannot cheat your way of understanding the basic movement patterns by resorting to cables and machines. They are only simulations at best, never the real representation. In addition, beginner phase is the only phase you can progress your real strength as fast as possible. Once it is over, your strength progress will significantly slow down. So it is even more imperative that you want to maximize this once only chance in your entire lifting career, and not waste your time on cables and machines. Actually, one of the biggest challenges for beginners who start from a commercial gym is whether you can resist the temptation of trying all the fancy machines and cables out of your curiosity. This is also one of the main reasons why I'm against beginners or even early intermediates joining a commercial gym. Because most fancy machines and cables only serve as a huge distraction to beginners and intermediates. However, I'm not beating cables and machines to death entirely. Provided you train with free weights more than 80% of your time, there are certain machine and cable isolations that you may want to consider including in your training program even from the very beginning. Chief amongst them all are machine hamstring curls and cable tricep pushdowns. However, the point of including all these isolations is more to do with addressing the inherent imbalance that most people have, not so much to do with building a real foundation. And I will be explaining why certain isolations are necessary regardless of your training experience in another video. But for now, if you're a beginner, this is what you really should do. Train like a strength athlete, stick to the good old boring free weight basics, and build a real foundation for yourself. Actually, you're going to find that exercises that a beginner hypertrophy trainee has to do are virtually the same as a professional athlete and a strength athlete. Fundamental free weight exercise compound movements. What's the reason for that? Well, it's just literally like building a house. A foundation is always going to be the most important part of a house. However, the method to build a foundation is very, very limited. And that's the reason why I have covered both professional athletes training and beginner hypertrophy training in the same episode. Alright guys, that wraps up episode 2. Please stay tuned for intermediate hypertrophy training in episode 3. Peace out.